All right, I think we can get started, and I think what we'll do is first, everyone, welcome to the virtual event, Expand Your E-commerce Business Across Borders, specifically between the US and Europe. There's been a lot of talk recently about international expansion, as well as given the current socio-political, socioeconomic events happening, there's been really a lot of global shifts. What we thought the world was 5 years ago is a very different world today, which is both unnerving, but also very exciting. So I'm really excited that today we have joining us Emily from OFX, Nick from Hello Tax, as well as Sasha from Cinder. So thank you, all three of you, for joining us on this really interesting discussion that I think we could go on and talk on for hours. We're gonna basically, what are we gonna cover today? I also wanted to mention, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will be looking at your questions during this presentation, and we'll be able to either answer during the presentation your question, or we can answer at the last 20 minutes. So we'd be happy to do that. We want to leave plenty of time for discussion because we want to give you the opportunity to also let us know what you think, as well as if you have any questions. So with that, we're going to talk about first, what is the state of e-commerce in Europe? What is going on right now? What does today's world look like? As well as how to market and advertise the right products in Europe. Keeping in mind, if you're selling in the US or if you're looking to start your business in Europe for the first time, you have to be very strategic. Also, we're going to have then Sasha from Cinder give us some really practical tips on accounting in Europe. And then we're going to have Emily give us some tips on reducing costs with international expansion. And last but not least, saving the best for last, VAT compliance, which, to be honest, sounds like a really technical and very useful topic when it comes to diving into this area. We have Nick, who's going to talk about VAT compliance and why it is required in Europe. So we're starting very high level, and then we're going to really dive into the technical things that you need to know to set yourself up for success here. With that, discussion questions. So the opportunity, it exists. Europe is a quickly growing market, $146 billion market. Amazon itself gets 1.38 billion monthly visitors. And it is estimated that there's a 35% growth of e-commerce in the UK. So the opportunity exists. It's just a matter of you deciding whether you want to pursue that opportunity. Is it worth any perceived risks? I'm not going to go over this table in detail, but there's also plenty of statistics and metrics that show like UK in terms of market size is the largest. In terms of e-commerce compound annual growth rate, it varies depending on which source you're looking at, which years you're looking at, but it looks like the top ones are UK, France, Germany, then Spain. In terms of which marketplaces are leading, it's clear that Amazon is the leading marketplace, followed by eBay. I just tried to sell something on eBay the other day, and I'm pretty sure they were trying to scam me. So I love eBay, but I think Amazon is probably, for this reason, Amazon might be a little bit more trustworthy in this case. And also, why would you want to consider expanding your e-commerce business to Europe? So maybe you've already established your business in the US, or you've established your business elsewhere, or you're looking to establish your business in Europe. And so expanding your reach to different marketplaces gives you larger opportunities. You are able to access 400 million plus new customers in 27 new countries, and you can transform your brand into a global one. And you can also, if you're one of the first movers, you can basically outthink your competition. And and this is actually a slide from Nick. So thank you, Nick, for letting me borrow your slide for our introduction. Nick also, according to Nick, you can also reduce your costs with bigger volume sourcing. And so Nick, anything else to add here in terms of benefits that you've seen to expanding your e-commerce to Europe?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just to let you know, guys, now I've been selling in Europe for like 10 years. I used to have an e-commerce business before. Now I have a partnership agency. So to summarize, now Europe is hard to start, but it's much less competitive than the USA. So if you're doing like 500,000 in the USA, you must consider start selling in Europe because your competitors are not doing that. So, I mean, there is some other things that we're going to cover in general, but if you're not selling there, you must consider it. I'm not joking. I mean,
He's not
it's a big
joking.
opportunity. So
All right, so realistically though, what are the blockers or the risks or the things that you need to be prepared for to overcome? And these are things that in my opinion, you can overcome with the right partnerships, with the right strategy, with the right resources, you can overcome these barriers. First obvious one, language barrier. I actually heard advice though that, if you're looking to expand, and I think this is an interesting discussion point, where do you start in Europe? One piece of advice as I heard was if you're English speaking, maybe start in an English speaking area so you don't have to worry about the translations. Two, dealing with VAT, and that's why, and also accounting, all that complications. And I think that's why we have Sasha and Nick here with us, as well as Emily, to talk about other ways to save costs. And then finally, if you don't have the right product and if you don't have the right strategy, you're gonna not set yourself up for success. And I couldn't help but put here this famous advertisement, smell like a man, Old Spice. Very popular advertising strategy in the US. In terms of a European audience, we'll talk a little bit more about this, might not quite hit the mark. You do have to take into account cultural differences too, in terms of like your imagery and your positioning. So anything else on any of you guys three have seen here, or any other barriers I might have missed?
yeah, actually, I mean, always right here, just need to have the product at the beginning, because without product, you don't need taxes, you don't need fintech, you don't need ad services. So having the product is first, then language, taxes, and the other stuff. So having the product is the most important, and obviously doing the research if your product is gonna sell well in Europe. So I think this is the only thing that I should add here.
Yeah, great point. Another thing that is really important to consider, and Nick, I believe you're going to touch upon this a little bit as well, is the European fulfillment network versus the pan-European fulfillment network. So with the pan-European FBA, consider joining. You can save up to 56% in euro value fulfillment fees. So in terms of, for example, if you were to sell using the European fulfillment network in, say, Germany, it's about 650 in terms of euros, in terms of costs. However, with pan-European fulfillment fees, you can see that you actually have a cost savings of 3.55. So this is a really great way to save on fees. So if you're considering selling in Europe, take a look to see if this is something that could be useful for you. However, we know that Brexit is happening, and I apologize for these scary big words, but due to Brexit, as of January 1st, 2021, Amazon is unable to fulfill FBA orders between UK and EU. So to sell in FBA in both UK and EU, you will need to send inventory to fulfillment centers in the UK and EU. And perhaps others in this group have some updates on that as well, on how that's going, because we know that Brexit has been, needless to say, one of the interesting areas of what's happening in the world these days. And finally, marketing the right products in Europe. This is a picture from Nice, France. I wanted to put some lovely European imagery because I'm in the vacation mentality already. First of all, you don't want to see Europe as a whole, but you want to treat it as individual markets. For example, in France, it's a food-oriented culture. They're going to be using more formal terms. When it comes to selling greeting cards, you normally might use the more formal tense versus a familiar tense. That's just one example. Europeans also in general care more about quality. Americans, for example, we're okay with fast fashion versus Europeans are more likely to have fewer pieces of really high quality clothing. European spaces, cars in general tend to be smaller, so products are going to be less bulky, less large. And in general, people are more focused on ease of, they're less focused on ease of use and more focused on the functionality. So anyone else here have, and Nick, you mentioned earlier, marketing the right products in Europe. Is this more or so aligned with what you've seen so far as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is tools where you can do product research so they can show where is the opportunity in Europe, because we're different, we speak different languages, we do some dumb stuff as well in Europe. So you need to do your homework and do the research, but we're very different, that's for sure.
Yeah, and actually an interesting way to see is you can actually go to Marketplace Pulse and you can just look at who are the top Amazon sellers. Just take a look, see what kind of things they recycle, what is their advertising approach? What is their marketing strategy? So that's just really one basic way to really get started. So advertising Europe, and actually I apologize, this is a Brazilian soccer player, but I'm going to keep him in here. So Mayan, the startup where I work for, we focus, our bread and butter is optimizing your advertising on Amazon specifically. So we work in Germany, France, UK, and Spain. We also work, of course, in other parts of the world, but when it comes to Europe, these are the places where we work. And the key thing here is when it comes to your advertising, don't just translate your keywords. You really want to localize. So a really easy example is in the US, soccer. In Europe, it's football, American football versus football. So you really want to think about these crucial differences. Even if you're going to be selling in the UK, you want to think about even translating in UK English, like behavior is not OR, it's OUR, right? You want to think about those tiny things. So be sure to find the right people and the right partners to help you assist with this. And not only that, but you also want to localize your entire listing. So it's not just about the keywords, but your entire listing, making sure your listing reflects the words that your European customers are going to be using. So also when it comes to British English versus French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, Italian, I'm going to go on and on, versus US English, you're going to really expect also a different cost per click. So don't be surprised about that. Don't be expecting the same cost per click. And also when you're analyzing your advertising markets, you want to do it separately. So if you have a return on ad spend of 6 in the US, do not necessarily expect the same ROAS in Germany. And finally, last but not least, when you're thinking about your advertising budgets, think about your converting your currencies. So your budget is going to be in dollars versus euros versus British pounds. So other things to consider. So here's an example of a listing. I don't speak German. I speak moderate Spanish. I'm learning Portuguese, un pouco fala portugués. But in this case, you can see very clearly that this seller took the time to really make sure that the keywords here are in German, as well as everything in entire listings in German. So very simple example. And then also efficient advertising means knowing your COGS. And I'm going to wrap this up really soon. But basically, when you think about advertising, having budget to play with, the best way to do it is to reduce, think about savings in other areas, such as international money transfers, proper accounting, as well as fulfillment fees, like I mentioned earlier. And that's where we're going to talk. I'm going to pass it on to our next speakers. But before I do that, I wanted to mention that if you're interested in seeing areas of opportunity in your advertising, as well as areas, if you're interested in talking about advertising in different countries, feel free to scan this barcode or type in, free advertising audit. It doesn't cost anything. It's basically free knowledge for you that allows you to take a look at your advertising strategy and see if there's any opportunities for you to improve your advertising. So with that, I believe I am passing it off to pinging Sasha from Cinder on differences in US and European accounting methods.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sasha. I come from Cinder. It's an automation tool, which is basically growing into a big system. Like we deal with accounting. Mostly we have users in the US, also in Europe and across the world. So I've been talking to a lot of people for the past 3 years that have been with Cinder. So all of that I'm going to say is coming from my own experience. And if someone else has something else to say and to add, you're really welcome. But I mean, that's just what I wanted to share with you personally. So Julie, if you can click on the next slide. Yeah, thanks a lot. So if you want to expand your business to Europe, I think it's very important to work with professionals who understand the pitfalls and some specifics of doing accounting there, because there are a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff to keep in mind. And first and foremost, there are 2 different accounting principles. So in the US, you deal with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, and in the rest of the world, and Europe specifically, it's IFRS, or International Financial Reporting Standards. They may seem really similar, and Indeed, they are, but there are some differences that are really like key points. Let's say the inventory management. So last in, first out, or first in, first out principles. You need to understand that these things matter because they affect the way your profit is calculated and the way, you know, your tax liabilities are calculated, and it all affects, you know, how much money you're actually going to get at the end of the day. So you need to have all of that recorded properly, and you need to understand that these different principles exist in the US and in EU, and sometimes they're, you know, something is really prohibited in the US that is allowed in the EU, and, you know, vice versa. So you need to make sure that you understand the differences. And, you know, you as a business owner probably do not need to do that. So that's why we recommend to work with accountants who work both with the US clients and European clients. That's the best way of handling stuff. So another reason would be, you know, the financial reporting is not only different in formats. You may see that the layouts are a little different, but also there are some major tax differences, and Nick is going to cover that later on during this webinar. But it's important to know that you need to understand like tax thresholds in the regions you're selling and all the details of the taxation system. And moreover, record it all properly in your books to file correct reports. We know how important this is to file correct tax reports. Otherwise, you know, it's a major disaster. So to keep all records in place, we personally recommend to start with I don't know, you can do this in spreadsheets, or you can use an automation tool. As you know, I'm coming from an automation tool, and that's why I know how much time and effort all of that saves. I mean, it's your decision how to do this, but you need to record all of the details of what you're selling and how you're selling things as early as possible when you're expanding your business, especially into another country. So I can imagine that we all hope to have hundreds or thousands of orders and transactions every day. So it could be a huge burden to put in all of that in your books, like manually. You can hire someone, you can do that, you know, on your own, but still, I mean, an automation tool will save you a lot of time. Another issue that I wanted to highlight, and Julia, maybe you can click on the next slide, is handling multi-currency right. Yeah, and you briefly mentioned that before, you know, it's such a pain point. I know that from my own experience. You can have different setups. So the way you set up your business to accept money from customers can be really different. So you can have one bank account which is going to accept all currencies into it, or you can have different bank accounts with different currencies. And that all results into, you know, different bank statements coming your way. And you need to make sure that whatever is in your books matches those bank statements, and it all reconciles and all numbers align. We all know how that is important. So again, just make sure that you understand that multi-currency is really important. And you also use some tools that are really flexible and can deal with your specific setup, because coming from my experience, almost every user has their own unique setup. And you need to make sure that some kind of smart rules is in place so that you can, you know, change some settings and automate that process as much as possible. So yeah, just remember that, keep that in mind. And last but not least, next slide, please. It's very important to understand what is selling better in another region. As Julia said, and as Nick said, product is very important. So I know that a lot of apps, a lot of different tools, they're both paid and free, it doesn't matter. They have a lot of ways to automate that process of analyzing your business. I think, Julia, we're a little bit behind on the slides. Can you maybe click on the next slide? I'm not sure. Yeah, probably the next slide.
And you know, I'm sorry, this is not you, this is me. I was doing the slides, but basically you have 7 high-level tips: GAAP versus IFRS, LIFO, long-lived assets, financial reporting, rules versus principles, leases, as well as inflation and deflation.
So I'm just not going through all of them because, you know, you can, I mean, I'm just touching on the major points that I think are really like the problem with our users. Yeah, so that's just coming from me.
And I'd be happy to send out the slides afterwards so people have more detail on this as well.
Yeah, sure. And I also think that it's the next slide that I'm going to talk about right now. So you need to analyze your business. Bottom line here is you really need to understand your COGS, your profit, and what products are selling better or worse. You need to see those trends there. Cinder has such functionality, and I know that a lot of other apps do have that, but it all comes from the financial data that is recorded in your books. So for you not to like pull up spreadsheets and, create reports manually and analyze all of that information, just a lot of information. It's a lot. If you have thousands orders per day, it's not possible to do that. It's not humanly possible. So make sure that you find some tools that are going to work together to analyze your business this way as well. We all know that financial statements are really important, but also like some business insights would be wonderful. And it's all, it's great to have all of that in one place anyhow. So yeah, just summing up really quickly, from our point of view, from my point of view, it's really important that you have an accountant, a professional who knows what they're doing in Europe. That multi-currency is really important, and you take good care of that, and you understand how your business processes are set up and how your financials are set up with banks talking to each other in the US and in Europe, and record all of that, kind of replicate all of what's happening in your real life in your books. And also, automate as much as possible, as early as possible, because you have a lot of stuff to take care of, and automation it's not like because I work in an automation company. It's really important. This will save you a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you will, free up your time for a lot of stuff, which is way more important.
Sasha, Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I was going to ask you a question as well. So is Cinder something that replaces an accountant, or does it work with accountants?
Yeah, so basically we do not replace accountants. First of all, because you need a certified accountant to file tax reports and to make sure that all of it's verified and legal. So we are a help to the accountants and accounting firms. They actually love to use us as a data synchronization tool, because you need to work with data. But so, Cinder just helps you to put in data into your books. So QuickBooks, mostly, we also work with Xero, and we have our own accounting. It doesn't matter where you work. So accountants do love Cinder just because it's really, it's a handy tool, let's say.
Yeah, I was just talking to an accounting firm, and they were saying that it's a tool that helps them work more efficiently and helps them grow their clients' businesses.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And next, we have, oh my goodness. Well, I don't know why I'm going this way. We're going to go this way. Minimize costs when expanding to Europe with Emily.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm Alliance Partnerships Manager at OFX. I'm thrilled to be here with you today, sharing how you can be minimizing your costs when expanding internationally. With an e-commerce business, you're going to see there's always certain costs that you will be having to pay out. And now when you're taking that business across borders, those costs definitely increase or change. So it's all about working your money more efficiently and really saving in the process of expanding your business. Next slide. So before getting into our solutions, I'd love to share with you more about who we are. So OFX, we were founded over 20 years ago in Australia. Although we are founded in Australia and I'm coming to you from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida, we do have a robust international reach with 8 global offices. So that means that our brand really understands international markets, because us OFXers are all across the world. We are publicly traded and we work with tier 1 banks. So that really sets us apart from other fintech companies. Most of them work with neobanks. So just for a little understanding of the difference, tier 1 banks would be like the ones listed on the slide: Bank of America, Deutsche Bank. These are federally regulated, more brick and mortar establishments. They're not going anywhere. So you really know that where we place your money, or your money is being process through, there is that reliability and consistency and trust. Next slide. So now to get into our exciting cross-border solutions. So first is our industry-leading FX rates. So anytime that you are processing international payments, there's going to be a margin fee put on that payment transfer. So if you are processing that through a bank, they like to take a really hefty fee from your payment transfer. That's usually around the number of 3%. So when you're thinking of you're running a business and you're processing transfers from 6, 7, 8 figures, 3% takes a hefty chunk just for you trying to run your business. So OFX through us and specifically through the Mayan partnership, if you were to register today, we can guarantee that that fee would be cut to less than 1%. So that is an incredible savings and really adds to the bottom line of your business, which at the end of the day makes an incredible business difference. And this really translates really well to managing inventory, paying international suppliers, paying VAT compliance, paying virtual assistants, fulfillment centers, any of these international costs, you can use your OFX account to process them through. Second, we have our global currency accounts. So this is just a cute way of saying international bank accounts that we can open up for you. So we have 8 currencies that we can open those in. 2 we can focus on today would be the pound and the euro, since we are talking on European expansion, but we do have 8 currencies. So this enables you to receive and make payments like a local in the markets that you're selling in. So if you are expanding across borders, it's very easy to feel like you're a little bit of a foreigner, you're a little bit maybe just so far away from where you're now working in. We now kind of empower you and make you feel like you really are a part of that market by having your own bank account there. That can be game changing because instead of Amazon having to hold your funds when repatriating your funds, you can process it through OFX, and you then have control of when you want to bring your money back home. Amazon is not the most forward in sharing that they charge about 1.75% just to bring your funds back home. So you've worked really, really hard on your business. It's a labor of love for anyone in e-com, and you want to bring your profits home. And at OFX, we believe you shouldn't have to be charged such a high fee just to bring your profits home. So instead of processing it through Amazon, you could process it through us. And again, you'd be charged less than 1%, which makes a huge difference. And that also allows you some control in volatility of markets. Right now, specifically looking at the euro, there's an incredible parity between the US dollar and the euro right now. Unfortunately, we don't have control over markets or how any of this plays out. What we can control is our business and how we want to make our funds work most efficiently for us.
Got
so
it.
that leads very well into our next solution, which are our forward contracts. So that gives you the ability to lock in an FX rate for up to 12 months. So if you are familiar with Forex and you are someone that's constantly looking at the exchange rates, and there's an exchange rate that you feel really strong about that would work in your favor, you would be able to speak with an OFXer and have access to real financial hedging strategists. And you can lock in that rate, or if you're not as familiar with Forex, you can again reach out to these hedging strategists, and they can help communicate with you and figure out, what FX rate would really play best for your business, and let you know. And once that hits, you could sign a forward contract and lock in that rate and completely mitigate any volatility of markets. So that's really empowering because, again, we can't control the world or how the markets flow, but we can control our payments and our business and make sure that our money is working the most efficiently for us. And at OFX, we're here not just to help process your payments. We're really here to help grow your business and be those advisors in any capacity that we can be. And lastly, we have 24/7 dedicated customer service. So although we are a fintech company, we are all about keeping fintech more human. So coming through the Mayan partnership, I would be your personal dedicated account manager. So I know throughout the slides, there's our personal emails. I can add it in the chat as well. So you can reach out to me directly for your registration, your onboarding, really any questions. And you'll know at any time you have a dedicated person that's here to listen to you and your currency needs. As well, if it's off of my time zone, we do have our 8 global offices, so you'll be connected with someone around the world at any hour. So you'll see on the right side that there's a link. I can add it. Oh, thank you for throwing that in the chat, Julia. So if you register through the link that you see below and start onboarding today, it's a free sign up. We have 0 transfer fees. We can guarantee you lower margins. It sounds too good to be true, but it's really not. So whether you are currently in the process of expanding your business into Europe, or it's still just a thought, but you are currently running an e-com business, I do encourage you to register today to really lock in all of these partnership benefits that you would get through our OFX and Mayan partnership. And I would love to help start saving you money today.
Thank you, Emily. You mentioned customer service, and I also just wanted to shout out that we have a question from Nitish. And Nitish, I promise you we'll get to your question, but I think we'll do it at the end since it relates to language listings and customer service. But thank you, Emily, because it's clear 1.75% that Amazon charges versus a bank charges 3%. You as OFX charge less than 1%. So it does seem like it's a really interesting opportunity to try to save on fees, which you can use to bolster your marketing, right? Save the most cost.
Feeds the ecosystem.
The ecosystem. Perfect. Well, we have, and we're right on schedule. We have Nick coming up next, who's going to talk about what problem are we solving? Online sellers expanding into Europe are struggling to become tax compliant. So very relevant in regards to accounting, saving on fees, and now we're going into tax compliance. And Nick, you yourself have this extensive experience selling in Europe as well. So we're really looking forward to hearing your pieces of advice.
Okay, thanks, Julia. You know, you kept the unsexy topic for the last, VAT. But to be honest, without VAT, you cannot start selling in Europe. So let me give you one secret, guys. Now, HelloTax is just one of my network clients. Now, I have like an expansion partnership agent, so we cover everything from like taxes to translations to everything. So, but we're gonna talk about the VAT because I used to be an e-commerce seller in Europe. I was selling for over 10 years. A product which Julia knows very well, acai berry, the magic Brazilian fruit. I was the first one selling that in exactly acai. So long story short, I was a client of HelloTax when I sold my business where I had like 20 private label brands. You know, they told me, okay, can you help us grow the partner network and expand the business? Of course, you know, I'm always looking for new opportunities. I'm like that. So long story short, the HelloTax founders are ex-Amazon sellers. They built the software to help e-commerce sellers and mostly Amazon sellers to expand across Europe and deal with the VAT compliance. So what we did there, they built a software and a solution which allows you to set up VAT and start selling in Europe. Julia, can we go to the next slide? Okay, so, you know, selling in Europe, you know, is the first thing that you need to consider after having the right product. If you don't have VAT, Amazon is not gonna allow you to sell anything. So full stop, that's it. If you don't have a VAT, you cannot start selling. So, and these are the things that you need to know in regards to VAT once you establish one. What's your VAT liability in the past and the present? If you don't know, it's not an excuse. They'll give you a fine and you have to pay that. So that's not nice. You need to register for VAT on one or more markets. If you go to Amazon, they're going to tell you, okay, go and do the PANU. We're going to collect some nice fees on these 5 or 7 countries. So don't listen to Amazon. Never start with that. We recommend just do it one. Use Germany. is the second biggest market in Europe, and you can expand like octopus across Europe. Just do it like that, because you save on the bureaucracy BS that you're gonna go over with the multiple registration. And to be honest, to sell across the whole EU, you don't need multiple VATs. You just need one. Ideally, in Germany, we recommend Germany, because after Brexit, it's harder to sell in Europe. So use that as a base, set up listings in different languages, in different marketplaces, and you can use that as a expansion base to Europe. Once you establish that you're selling great in the other markets, you can go and set up the VAT in the other ones. But just remember, one VAT is enough to get started in Europe. So that's the thing. Obviously, when you're moving stock across the EU, that needs to be reported as well. So that's important. And of course, if you're selling on Amazon, Shopify, eBay, Kaufland, whatever, these are different channels. So you need to have complete visibility across these channels, and you need to report the transactions on all channels. Again, if you don't do it properly, it's your mistake. So you get penalized. So don't do that. And these are things that we do with health tax, but I'll tell you a little more after that, how exactly we do that. So, Julia, I'm clicking on my mouse, thinking that I'm going to the next slide, but I guess that's you. So here, and the question is the following, where should I start in Europe? But actually
That's a
we
good
missed
question. I was going to ask that later. So yeah.
Exactly. But let's go back a little bit. Somebody would ask, okay, why the hell should I bother about Europe? I mean, you guys speak different languages. It's only good for vacation. Yes, that's correct. People come here on vacation, but on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, it's still underdeveloped. By some market research recently, it's gonna grow to like 3 trillion in like less than 8 years, which is a huge market. So USA, it's much easier to start selling there, but it's overcrowded. It's much more competitive. Europe, on the other side, it's still early. So if you just combine, the sales that you're doing in the USA, and if you move to Europe, you're gonna do probably less sales at the beginning, but you have like higher profit margin because your competition is not there yet. Meaning that if you're the first, you can have a long-term revenue stream there. So in regards to the VAT complexity, there is several markets that you should consider. Poland is the easiest one in regards to the documents that are required and how hard is in regards to the wait time, but they're not the biggest market. So on the other side, Spain is probably the worst market to get started with because they require original documents and the long wait period, which takes around 4 to 5 months. So if you ask for advice, and this is what we recommend to everybody, before Brexit, everybody was going, if you're coming from an English-speaking market, you go to the UK because it's the same language. Right now, you can still do that, but it's a little, you can still do it now, but it's not that easy as before because of Brexit. Even though Amazon enabled the EFN, which I'm going to cover a little bit later on, it's still better to go to Germany. And this is a few secrets that people don't know. In Germany, you can apply for VAT and use the documentation in English. You don't need the translations. So you're saving on the translation because second, Germany doesn't have fiscal representation insurance, meaning it's an insurance which you need to pay if you're a non-EU company, for example, to cover the VAT liability if you decide to escape, buy a yacht and go to the Caribbean. So, go to Germany. They don't charge that for reasons that we don't know. They may be rich or they just decide to attract more non-EU businesses. So you don't pay that. Another thing is, for example, if you're a US company, there is a specific tax authority in Germany which deals with VAT applications for US companies. So UK companies wait longer than US companies because there is a separate tax authority which is filled out with applications, and it takes more than 3 or 4 months. The same with Chinese sellers. So US sellers have the priority to do that because your VAT is going to be issued quicker. And the last part is obviously there's 2 more. Germany is the biggest market, the Amazon market after USA, Amazon.com. So is the place to start. And the last part is you can use Germany as a base because you can set up your storage there and you can make deliveries across the whole European Union. This is the good thing. Amazon, if you're a non-EU seller or a brand, Amazon is going to collect the VAT and pay that to the tax authority. So you shouldn't worry about that. Making it easier for you guys. The only thing that you're required to do is do the reporting, which we do for Hell Tax. So I'm clicking on my mouse, Julia, so it means we're going to the next slide. Okay, so reasons why we need to register VAT. Before, we used to have a distance selling threshold. This is no longer valid, so you don't need to worry about the different VATs in the different markets. So just to summarize it like that. Right now, if you're an EU-based company, once you hit 10,000 euro, you can actually opt in for the OSS, which is the one-stop shop, which allows you to hold stock in one country and make deliveries to B2C clients across the whole union. So that's easier, you know. The other option is, you know, if you hold stock in any market, if you hold products in like one warehouse in Germany, you need one VAT. If you hold stock in 3, you need an additional 2. So, like I said, these are the conditions, and it's much easier right now compared to 2 years ago to expand in Europe, because Amazon has their own OSS, so they allow you to hold stock there, and they fulfill the orders across the whole union, and you just need one VAT, like I mentioned earlier. So
Just
I'm
one
going.
VAT. So that's
Exactly, just
very-
one VAT. This is the smart way to do it. No, don't, because Amazon, they make money on the fees, so they're gonna tell you, go and do the PANU. Don't do that, because tax authorities, they're different. You get the VAT in Germany, let's say in two months. You get the one in Spain in 5 months. So the whole planning is messed up. So instead of that, just do one VAT. You're gonna pay a little more about the shipping and the other stuff, but it makes it easier for you. And besides that, you can test the markets to give you time to spend less and expand across the European Union.
So Nick, someone mentioned in the questions that your voice broke in between very critical information, but I believe what you were saying was just you only need one VAT. And
Exactly. Tell me if something is wrong with my voice, because I have a special microphone for these webinars, which I assume is not working right. So
no, you're fine. And I think that I'm going to move on to the next slide. So we have an opportunity to ask some questions at the very end as well. And this is what you were saying about UK as well, right?
Exactly. So for 1 year, you know, Brexit was a nightmare. A lot of companies stopped selling from the UK to Europe and vice versa. So Amazon was, by the way, beta testing, you know, the reopening of DFN for 1 year. Some companies were allowed to do that, but you know, in March, like 3 months ago, they reopened that.
So it is reopened
quickly,
now,
it's reopened since
Okay.
March. So this is actually how it works. If you're like an UK seller on Amazon, you can sell on all European marketplace. You just need to enable your listings there. And the most important part is your products must be under 150 euro. So if they are, you don't go for the custom. So it's almost like before. Of course, you're gonna pay like higher shipping fees, but the thing is, you can still sell in the EU. Vice versa. This applies for the EU sellers selling in the UK. So all that is great, because it's a lot of sellers who stopped selling in the European Union are also, reopening that. And that's actually the biggest benefit of the NFN. So things to remember here. Obviously, need to set up the listings in the different languages. You can sell on all Amazon EU markets, and your products must be under 150 euro. So if you're doing all that, you can apply for the EFN and you can start selling in Europe if you didn't do that already. Or if you have been selling, you can resume selling again for the European fulfillment network. Of course, unless you have a VAT in one of the European Union countries now.
So yeah, the situation's changing very quickly and very
dramatically.
Amazon's interested.
Exactly. I mean, you know, they're losing money. You know, they make less money on the fee, so it's not good for them. So they told the European Commission, okay, guys, can we work out something? And I guess they worked out something. So that's how it is. So, and this is obviously regarding the FN again. So we can go to the next page, next slide.
Okay, you already talked about the 150.
Exactly. No.
Perfect.
Okay, so what is, I already mentioned that, but what do we do in Hell Tax? And this is what we recommend always. After the reopening of the EFN, you can still opt in for the UK, but we always recommend Germany or UK. Just start with one, mostly two if you want to, two VATs. We have a customs partner on the site who helps you with the rest, because I have a partnership agency network with like 1,000 companies, so we cover everything. But of course, VAT is the first blocker. So we set up the VAT in one market, Germany or the UK. We connect you with the customs partner who can help you out with that. We have a translation partner who specializes in e-commerce and Amazon listing optimization translation, so they do your translation properly. Then we have a logistics partner who help import the stock, and then what we do after that. If you're selling on Shopify, if you're a non-EU seller, you can opt in for the OSS, which would allow you to hold stock in Germany, let's say, one in the Amazon FBA, one in a separate warehouse, and you can fulfill your orders across the EU. So if you're selling outside of Amazon, you must have OSS. Otherwise, you would need to make multiple VAT registrations. So you should avoid that. Don't do that. And the other thing is we're going to do the VAT monthly filings plus the OSS quarterly filings if you have OSS. And that's it, one VAT, customs partner, logistics partner, translation partner, fintech partner, accounting partner, and you got all covered here, So Julia, can we go to the next slide? And the good thing about exactly, and the good thing about that is that we have like the software. So on the front side, this is how it works. After you get the VAT, you connect your Amazon account, you connect your Shopify if you have one. If you have other integrations, you simply upload them there. If you have any imports, you upload them there. Our software collects the data, calculates that. We prepare the report and we file that. If you have a VAT return, you go and pay that for the two, and that's it. And soon we're gonna have like a fintech partner in the dashboard, so you can go ahead and pay that. OFX is one of the guys on the list, so you guys know. But in general, this is how it works. Front end software, which can monitor everything easily, connect your channels. And on the back end, we have tax advisors, account managers speaking multiple languages from German, English, Spanish, Italian, Turkish, Arabic. And of course, to help you make the next step, we are actually giving away free VAT registrations, which means that free of the listener watchers, they're gonna save €300 to get started in Europe, because it's a boost. I know that a lot of people are scared from Europe, so don't be scared. You're gonna get €300 discount, and we're gonna give you all the tips and partner network to grow in Europe. So I think I'm done, and hopefully I was on time because it was quick.
Excellent. Yes, and I think now we can open it up to some discussion, some debate, let's speculate on the future perhaps as well. We have a question from Takwa. I'm going to say, Takwa, you can either put your question in the chat, or I'm going to allow you to talk so that you can also give your input as well.
Thank you very much, Julia. It's Takwa. Yes, you pronounced it right. I liked the webinar so much. It was very, very rich in information. Everything you provided, Sasha, Emily, and Nick, has been very beneficial for me. I come from the Middle East. I'm residing in Dubai. So what you're saying resonates so much, because expansion is happening, but for me, I see the other way around. Brands and Amazon businesses are coming to us due to the political and the geographical changes happening. The World Cup is coming into Qatar. Dubai now is becoming the new trade hub. Saudi is changing. So a lot of change, you're seeing it happening. And so many solutions we would like to have similar to yours. I would love to be in touch and reach out and find a way to cooperate with you guys. What you provide is very, very valuable. Also, if there is any of you needs any help or support by expanding into the region, Amazon AE, Amazon Saudi, and Amazon Egypt, the one recently launched, I'm very happy to help. My native is Arabic, so it's my region. And one thing, Julia, Mayan is a very Arabic word.
Oh, interesting.
It means the junction between a sea and a river.
Oh,
the junction point. So it relates to what you do. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it very much. And one thing I wanted to ask, please, the question is for Emily, the first one. Did you consider having a branch or an office in Dubai, considering the percentage of expats over here who are looking for such a solution?
Yes, so OFX over the years, it's constantly looking at different places to spread some roots in. I do believe that we do have some OFXers that are based there, so they are able to provide that that native knowledge and really bring that to the table. As far as an OFX office, I don't know if that's something right now that's in the works. It's definitely something that I can speak to my team and find out about. But I know that we're constantly, over our 20 years of being established, we've been opening up new offices around the world to really expand our reach. So that's something that I'd actually love to find out more about. I know that we have OFXers there, and I think I do agree with you, having an office there would be awesome to keep expanding our reach.
Thank you, Takwa. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to mute you now so we can move quickly to address other questions we have in the chat as well. But thank you so much for your comment and your question. Maybe our next session will be on expanding in the Middle East. So the world is our oyster. So thank you so much. Okay, so thank you for that question. And I wanted to also give us the opportunity to address Nitish's question. Nitish asked, how do you solve multiple language listing and customer service problems? So this is a very big question because anything can happen when it comes to language listings and customer service problems. So maybe we'll break it down first by these problems. Let's first talk about multiple language listings. First, multiple language listings. Yeah, we talked about the fact that it is important to make sure that if your listing is in English, that it is translated and localized to the local language that you're targeting. So even if it's British English, you need to still be able to localize into British English. So we have some partners who'd be able to help you with your listing as well. Nick, you mentioned some partners as well that you work with in terms of your listing. So maybe we can just get in touch and talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think I might have connected you with you guys. Margin Business, they cover, if it's Europe, they're the guys to go. So, and obviously they do the listing, translation, optimization, and they can help with all that. And we can actually answer the second part of the question. So if you want to, for the support.
Yes. So the question is, how do you solve multiple language customer service problems? You have a customer in Germany who is going to want to communicate to you about a product problem in German, for example. So
yeah, there is actually a partner of mine who covers that. They're called Seller Candy. So they make your life sweeter with helping you with all these issues. So this is what they do, by the way. They provide like an outsourced Amazon support in multiple languages. So
got it.
Actually, so there is a partner for everything in the space. You just need to watch the webinars and you'll find these great guys. So
yeah, and I think the best way is to talk to other Amazon sellers as well. The easiest way, in my opinion, is just to attend an event and talk to sellers on the ground, like who's good, who's not good, because we do know that businesses can be better or different depending on your needs. Sometimes a virtual assistant is a good choice and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is better to, go with a company as opposed to a consultant. So that is, I think, also the best way to do it, is just talk to other sellers and see what they think as well. Are there any questions from the audience as well? We have time for more questions. Otherwise, I will just start bringing up questions myself. Nitish, I hope we answered your question. So, okay. Oh, he says yes. So then another question is, I was going to ask about this before, and it's kind of a debate, I think, is, okay, so if you want to start selling in Europe, where do you start? Nick, you are clearly Team Germany, but I'm curious for Emily and Sasha, based on from your perspectives, maybe the accounting is easier, I don't know, in a specific country. So bringing up that question again, if you want to start expanding in Europe, what country do you start with?
So from the accounting point of view, I mean, I'm not the one probably to answer that question, but like we have a lot of clients who are selling into Germany, and that is like, I'm not making this up for sure. That must be the easiest region. We also have people, like clients who sell in the UK a lot, but that might change with time, as we understand with the Brexit and stuff, especially with, Amazon. But yeah, so Germany, I know for sure that for some reason, US guys are avoiding France. And I know why. I mean, like from the QuickBooks perspective, I know that it's really tricky and they have a lot of tricky laws and regulations, and it's really hard to do accounting there. So I know that. So maybe business, doing business there is also quite tricky, but like Germany is definitely the top country that we have the US guys selling in.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear because I was just at Powwow in Florida recently, and one of the presenters was recommending UK because of just the language. But I think, yeah, Brexit has really changed things. It might be easier to advertise. It might be easier to, create a listing. But it definitely, you definitely have to look at first, like, do you have the right partners and resources in place to address the potential difficulties in terms of regulation? But it does also look like Amazon is incentivized to make that relationship between UK and EU much easier. So it could be that we're going to be seeing UK as the top place to pursue. Nick, any other thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, accounting is hard everywhere. So the good thing about like expansion to Europe is you don't need to establish a company. You just need the VAT and that's it. So if we need to summarize, like Germany, we've discussed that already. Other markets which are easier, obviously the UK that you mentioned, and Italy. Italy, it might be a surprise, but you get the VAT pretty quickly. But if you just look geographically, Germany is in the middle of Europe. So you don't want to send your stuff from Bulgaria on this side or UK on the northwest side or Spain in the north south. So Germany has probably the biggest benefits now. I'm not gonna go there on vacation, but if I'm gonna start selling again, I'll go to Germany as my base, and then I can establish, let's say, UK, Italy. But no, there is no question asking. The issue about accounting in general is that a lot of the accountants are old-fashioned, and obviously Sasha and their company are providing the software, but a lot of accountants don't know how to work with e-commerce brands. So that's one of the issues, by the way. They just do it. For example, in Germany, most of the accounts are 50 plus. They're used to the old ways, and it's very hard to find like proper partners who are doing the accounting right. Because obviously we do the VAT, but you need to do the accounting. There is software, they don't know how to work with this software. So one thing that probably Sasha, they must do, probably they might be doing, is to educate the accountants how to use their service. This would make it easier because they're gonna scare, they're gonna actually help more sellers, and everything is gonna work out better. But it's a long process, I think.
Okay, it's great that you finished your sentence right on the dot because we're at time. I think that, yeah, e-commerce in Europe is here to stay, especially since a lot of people, especially in Europe, were forced to stay at home. The ability just to go and buy things in a physical store has become much more limited, but definitely has given a boost. But the growth is the potential growth in the future, I personally think is going to be very profound. So I'm glad that I was able to get all these brilliant minds together to speculate in the future. And thank you all for adding your really interesting technical perspectives, because the technical things, even if it's not fun, it is the most important thing to address. And for everyone attending and who signed up, I'm really happy to send out these slides afterwards. And Nitish, I'm happy to also email you separately on your last question. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. And I look forward to working with you further in the future as well.
Thank you. It was great fun.
Thanks, Julia. Enjoy your last 3 days, until the weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Freedom.
Okay. Okay. Bye, girls.
Bye,
It was nice to
everyone.
meet you. We'll connect separately. Bye. For now.
Okay.